Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review, and today I'll be having a look at Dark Relic, starring James Frain as Sir Gregory. So, the Dark Relic is a sci-fi original film, so that's going to come with certain connotations, and so I'll point out that obviously this is going to be a relatively low-budget film, and as such I'm not going to be judging it with the same sort of critique that you'll be looking at the higher-budget sort of proper cinema releases. So, first thing I say about this film, I actually think it's got some quite good ideas, and for a sort of a sci-fi original film, you know, they produce a lot of B-movie fodder, creature features, and things like that. But this film, I actually say, it's got a relatively interesting plot line, and what it is, it's set just after the First Crusade, and a group of Crusaders managed to find a holy relic, which is part of the original crucifix that Jesus was crucified on. They sort of verify it, and it's bleeding and stuff, so they kind of verify it's real, and they're with a priest and whatnot, and they basically want to transport it back to Rome, back to the Vatican. So they get a ship, but things start to go a bit sort of sour. They start to have sort of bad luck happening to them. For example, when they're on the ship, all the food sort of turns to maggots. All their sort of water stores, turn into sort of seawater. And then they have a shipwreck. Now, I will say something about the shipwreck. One of the bad things about this film is, obviously it's a low budget film, and some of the choreography isn't particularly great. So they have this big storm, and conveniently all of the ship's crew get sort of thrown overboard. But the way they film it, they look just like they've got sort of diving overboard pretty much. So it's stuff like that. Again, this is for budgetary reasons really, but some of the acting in regards to the physical things that they're doing looks a little bit unconvincing. So they end up getting shipwrecked, and sort of happenstance they sort of meet a sort of group of other people, and there's a small bunch of Turks and a couple of pilgrims, and obviously the war is actually over, so they kind of end up allying with these group of people. And then basically tromps across the country trying to sort of deliver this relic, and various things start to happen. Sort of biblical plagues. You've got swarms of locusts, that kind of stuff. Birds dropping down from the skies, and the ideas are very good. But obviously, because it's a low budget film, some of them the effects don't look fantastic. Obviously, the locusts are all CGI and stuff like that. Birds falling down from the sky, though, that was these practical effects for that, for the most part, anyway. So eventually they'll come into a monastery where they feel like obviously something's not quite right here. They think it's evil trying to stop them from delivering this relic to the Vatican, but they basically find out that although it's a holy relic, it's also cursed, to do with there's an inscription on it in kind of like nails, and that particular bit is apparently cursed. So they try to sort of pull it out, doesn't work, they can't destroy it, so basically they're stuck with it. And they don't really know what to do, and they decide to try and sort of eventually take it back to the Holy Land. So you basically have this kind of this big group of sort of knights and various kind of other people in there, and they kind of get whittled down. Now, it would have been quite a good story, but they insist on having like a CGI demon turn up throughout the story as well, and he's the kind of the big bad guy at the end, and he looks like a proper PlayStation graphics. Now, I actually think they could have got away with not having a demon in it at all. I mean, you have some of the sort of the guys end up sort of getting possessed, and and crawl around the ceilings and stuff like that, and that would have been fine. Or if you did want to have a monster, you're not needing to have this huge. It looks a bit like a smaller version of the Balrog from Lord of the Rings. but it's just not needed. I don't think they could have done without. They didn't need to have this kind of like special effects piece. It was an interesting story without that. And if they wanted to have some kind of monster, a man in a sort of, or a big sort of actor in a sort of a suit, I think would have looked better. But you know, like I said, I mean, it's budgetary concerns and things like that. You know, I don't know that was the decision, or they just feel like they needed to sort of do this sort of creature in CGI, and it sort of cheapens the film, or that it's already a relatively cheap film. But the acting is, although it's obviously set after the first grade, the sort of language is relatively contemporary. The sort of costumes look okay. I mean, I've read some sort of bits online just before I did this review, and a lot of people sort of say the costumes look like they're from a joke shop. I wouldn't say that. I think they look reasonable, to be fair. Some of the set designs, some of them obviously look like they're not real set, you know, not real location shootings. Obviously, it's not going to be when they're sort of going through the deserts of Jerusalem and stuff like that. But you know, again, some of these things I can forgive purely because I'm accepting the fact that it's a lower budget film. But as I say, I think they didn't need to have this demon in it. But overall, I would say it's a relatively interesting film. It's a fairly slow moving film, and it poses some interesting religious questions, because you basically, as I say, you've got these sort of knight crusaders, then you have these sort of Turks who they're sort of allied with, and you also have these pilgrims that are actually atheists, and they're basically all sort of talking about their various sort of opinions on it and stuff like that. So, you know, it even poses some religious sort of questions and things like that, and they sort of. So it's maybe, I mean, maybe not in any great detail, to be honest with you, and obviously this being a sort of, you know, a straight sort of TV horror movie rather than anything else. It's not trying to be a particularly thought-provoking film, but nevertheless, you know, I'll tip my hat for maybe trying to be a little bit more intelligent than the sort of the normal fodder that you sort of see in the Sci-Fi Channel. I think James Frain gives a good performance as the sort of the main character, Sir Gregory. It gets a little bit cliche, sort of Terminator monster at the end. But overall, I would say this is a reasonable film, to be honest with you. I mean, the reviews have been relatively negative for this, but you know, I think some people do. You have to realise that it's a cheap film, so you can't expect amazing special effects. But for the thought that was put into this film, I actually think, you know, it's one of the sort of the better sort of teen movie films. If you can kind of get over the sort of maybe the sort of like some of the wobbly sort of choreography and stunts and the sort of maybe crappy special effects on occasion, you might be fairly interested in this if you want a bit more of a a sort of slower moving sort of fantasy film. Anyway, so I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. I quite enjoyed watching it. Have you seen it? Let me know what you thought of it, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.